Welcome. I am Mr. Murphy, and in this particular video, we're going to be looking at Power Standard skill number 25. And in this particular skill, we're going to be looking at population growth and investment growth problems, dealing with this equation that's shown here, the y equals a times b to the x powered. We'll be talking more about that equation here in a minute. But first, let's look at some examples that you'll be working on here after we finish. But the other thing to make sure is before you start watching this video, you want to make sure that you have a calculator. You will definitely need a calculator, and you'll want to use it to follow along so you know how to use the buttons and things on your calculator. So make sure you have that ready and at your disposal. So let's first look at one of those examples that you'll be doing on your own here in a minute. So here we have Jerome. Jerome is currently making $25,000 and will get a 3.5% raise every year at his job. We want to figure out how much he can expect to make in 10 years from now. And in order for us to be able to figure that out, we have to know how to use that formula that was mentioned at the beginning of the standard, that y equals a times b to the x power. So let's take a minute, let's talk about that. So here we have our equation. And you notice I've identified what these parts represent. That value for A that's at the beginning, that value for A represents the initial amount, what you're starting out with, whether it's, if you're dealing with a bacteria, whatever the bacteria is that you're starting, the number of bacteria that you're starting out with, or if it's a population, the number of people in that population that you're starting out with, or if an investment, like this situation with Jerome that we'll be looking at here in a minute, that would be his initial amount, what he's currently at. The growth factor is going to be written as a percent. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. But that growth factor is going to be a rate. And the time, your exponent is going to represent your time, which is always going to be in years. Now, that value for b, what we said is anytime we're dealing with that value for b and it's greater than 1, that means that we're talking about exponential growth. There's going to be times where that value for b is going to be smaller, between 0 and 1, which represents exponential decay, which we're going to look at in a future video. But it's very important that if we're dealing with growth, if we're talking about the investment growing, that we have a number that's greater than 1. So you need to be careful because let's say if you have an example like 4.2%. Well, 4.2% is 0.042. Well, if you notice, if we're talking about a population growing by 4.2%, if I use 0.042, that number is not bigger than 1. So if I left it at 0.042, it wouldn't represent exponential growth, which is what we want it to be. We want it to be exponential growth. So it's very important to do what's here at the bottom in blue. Anytime we're using percents associated with growth, we have to add 100%. So if it was 4.2%, we would add 100 to that because it's growing by 4.2%. So we have 100% of what we had before, plus another 4.2%. So we have 104.2%, or as a decimal, 1.042. In which case, our value for b would be greater than 1, so it would be associated with exponential growth. Let's look at another example here before you do one on your own. Here we have a high school that has a population of 1,200 students, and its population is growing annually at a rate of 3.2%. I want to figure out what the population is going to be for that high school 8 years from now. So we're going to have to use that equation, y equals a times b to the x. Well, let's start by identifying those different pieces, and then we'll plug them into that equation. So first off, remember, again, our equation is y equals, hold on, I'm going to use a different point here. Remember, our equation is y equals a times b to the x power, like we mentioned. And A is going to represent your initial amount. In this problem, your initial amount is going to be the number of students that we're starting out with right now, presently, our current amount, which would be 1,200 students. Now, our growth rate is 3.2%, but remember, we're growing at a rate of 3.2%. So we have to add 100 to that, so it would be 103.2%, which as a decimal is 1.032. And our time is going to be in years. Our time is going to be 8. So we're going to plug this information into our equation. So it's going to be y equals 1,200 times 1.032 to the 8th power. Now it's important that we use order of operations here. So if you do this on a calculator, depending on the calculator that you're using, You want to make sure that you type it in exactly as you see it. Now, if you have the TI Inspired calculator, this would be the way that you want to plug it in. It's going to be 1200. And then I want to put this in parentheses. It's going to be 1.032, closed off by parentheses. And then our exponent's going to be 8 years. We're going to put 8 in there. Now, when I hit enter, we get this answer. Now, you want to make sure that your answer makes sense. So we're dealing with population of students. So I wouldn't want to say in 8 years from now that we'd have 1,543.9 students. We would round this up. We would say it's approximately 1,544 students. Oops. So that would be your answer. So why don't you take a minute now to see if you can't apply this to what we just talked about to this particular problem that we looked at earlier for Jerome. So why don't you guys go ahead and pause the video and hit play when you're ready to check your answer. Okay, so let's first start by identifying your values for A, B, and C that you should have found. So A in this problem would be his initial investment, which would be, or his initial salary, which is $25,000. And he's going to grow by 3.5%. So remember that means that it's 103.5%, because 100% of what we had before, plus another 3.5%. Change it to a decimal, so it'll be 1.035. And, whoops, our value for x is going to be 10. So your equation would be y equals A, which is 25,000, times B, which is 1.035, raised to the x power, which is 10. And when you do this on your calculator, you should have gotten as your answer $35,264.97. Now this is one, since we're dealing with dollars and cents, we should round it to the nearest penny, so 97 cents would be your answer. Technically, I suppose if you said 35,265 as your answer, that would be fine as well, because we're talking about a salary, and usually that's not going to be broken down to the penny. It's usually going to be rounded to the nearest dollar. But we can leave it like this, and that would be your final answer. Well, there you have it. That is skill number 25 for you. So hopefully you have a better understanding of population growth or investment growth, especially how to make sure that you change that percent, and hopefully you feel like you've mastered this skill and you can try some now on your own. So with that, good luck.